Whether as filmmaker, opera director, Italian senator, Franco Zeffirelli brings passion and strength to his work. He has directed at some of the most famous theaters and opera houses everywhere, working with such greats as Callas and Pavarotti. Often credited with bringing the classics to the big screen, he is also known for his bold casting, including two unknowns in Romeo and Juliet and Mel Gibson in Hamlet. His current film is an adaptation of Charlotte Bronte's 1847 classic Jane Eyre, starring William Hurt and Charlotte Gainsbourg. And I am pleased to have him here. Welcome to this broadcast.
Thank you very much.
Tell me about why you decided to remake Jane Eyre.
Why not? It was done only 50 years ago with a very beautiful performance of Orson Welles and Joan Fontaine. It's a bit dated now. I think it's such an incredible novel. It's never been out of print, as
I said to you, as you said
before.
First published in 1847 and never been out of print.
And it's a cult novel. It's very easy to understand why. I mean, because in that moment of time, this woman, Charlotte Brontë, came up while her sister, Emily, was still singing those romantic stories where women had to die for love, one way or the other, either poison or kill herself for tuberculosis or whatever. No, she came up with a different portrait of a woman. No, Jane Eyre won't die. Yeah. She will fight through all her life and establish her ethics and fall in love. That happens in the film too, in the novel, but on her own terms. She says to the man she loves, I cannot love you unless I trust you.
Yeah.
And we are equal. When you come down to this basic relationship, we are equal.
Right.
There is no man or woman. We are this person, people. And that was pretty brave in 1847. In fact, the book created a lot of opposition and people were stunned, but women grabbed that message and became food for their, for their life. And since, I think it's unsurpassed in terms of the rights of women in a simple, direct fashion. And in addition, the novel is very well written, articulated a lot of wonderful situations. In a way, it's also a mystery story, very exciting. Very.
Do you think there's some reason, though, that, I guess you did Hamlet when?
No, 3 years ago.
3 years ago with Gibson. It was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that right?
91, 92.
No, 4 years ago. 5 years ago. All of a sudden now we have the Jane Austen craze, Sense and Sensibilities, and Pride and Prejudice was on television. And what's going on, you think? Is there some correlation between the emergence of classics and our times, or is it just so happen there's a cyclical kind of thing that happens, that takes place?
I'm sorry, I might sound presumptuous, but if there is one who started this, it was me in 1968 with Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
And the year before, Taming of the Shrew with Burton and Taylor. So I've been starting this revival of the classics, going back to that kind of culture because we've been stupidly neglecting it. Which is, cinema, there is so much to offer. You can see a film of a kind, a film of another kind. There is no reason why we shouldn't revisit the classics. Every generation should revisit Hamlet. They should come up with Hamlet because children should know what Hamlet is about. They should know these extraordinary creations of the past.
Yeah, the great thing about it all is that so many of the interpretations are so different.
Good. Good.
Each actor brings his own sense.
Yeah, but look at Henry V. It was done by
Henry V by Olivier and then done by Branagh.
Well, at the time Olivier did it, was the glorification of the military power, the defense of a country. War.
This was done in 42 or something?
No, it was done in 45, after the Battle of Normandy. So it was a celebration of the fearsome British that defended their own. War was the exaltation of war. Mm-hmm. Then Branagh came about 30 years later, and it was the opposite. It was the condemnation of war, because in that time there was this new philosophy that war, very rightly so, is a horror. There is no justification for it. But you see, the same piece was interpreted in two totally different points of view and philosophies, because people at that time, those two different moments of history were different.
Yeah. Now, when you do Shakespeare, or what's the What are the royalty questions about, from Shakespeare to the classics? I mean, how long does, what can you do without having to pay any kind of license fee?
To his children?
Well, I don't know. To whom? Well, I mean, no, take whoever.
What
are the copyright laws?
Public domain.
Well, when does something become a part of the public domain?
I don't know. Immediately, actually, there was no rights of the author at that time, no protection of the author at the time of Shakespeare. Even Charlotte Brontë,
yeah, right.
I mean, she's public domain. Only recently, this century, there's been control, copyright laws. The Convention de Berne was done by Napoleon, as a matter of fact. He started to protect the rights of the author. But even the great composers of last century, you had to wait for the end of the century to have some kind of rights recognized to the composers. But Bellini,
the end of the 19th century.
Rossini, they perform his operas, he didn't get a penny. With Verdi, change, because Ricordi, the publisher, invented this system of copyrights.
How good do you think Cecilia Bartoli is?
Oh, she's wonderful. She's great singer, lovely lady. I've worked with so many of these great people.
Opera is that your first love?
First, and it's a kind of mother. I go back to opera just to feel secure, to feel at home. And also because you have to commit yourself ahead of time. Now, I don't know what my next film is going to be. I have some ideas, but I know that in January 78 and 98, I'm going to do a new Aida in Tokyo, and I'm going to do a new Wagner in La Scala in 99. So
in 1999, you will be doing Wagner at La Scala?
Yeah.
You know where you'll be in 1999.
I know at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock that evening, the curtain will go up on the 10th of April, whatever date is, on that thing. So it gives a sense of continuity and security. This is going to happen.
All right.
Unless you die, unless something happens, naturally. But it will go on even if I disappear. That night, it is going to happen.
It's been that way for your life for a while. It's commitment to opera, so that.
Well, yes. I started in La Scala, actually with Maria Callas in 55.
Did you see Master Class here in New York?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it? Not so. Why not?
Because I'd known her so well. I don't think that was the angle I would have chosen to.
Even at that stage in her life, when she taught the Master Class?
Yeah, but she was never that aggressive and that bitchy. I think she was so full of warmth. And actually, the more she aged, and the more
mellow she became, or the more...
Yeah, more passionate and more of a dreamer she was, because she didn't have the tension of expressing herself and the kind of level she was accustomed to. So I think she communicated with a different kind of human message, with the young people especially. Anyway, it's very clever. Masterclass is wonderful.
Terrence McNally,
yeah, it's a great friend. I knew her very well. I've seen those masterclasses
at Columbia. Juilliard. Where were they? Juilliard, yeah.
Several of them. They were fascinating. I wish I had done many more, but then she didn't pursue that, because she would have left a tremendous quality in the new generation coming up.
Mm-hmm. Let me take a look at this. This is when Jane Eyre is sent away to boarding school by her mother. Anything else you want to say about this clip?
Not the mother, the aunt.
By the aunt, aunt, right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
That's Anna Paquin. She's a wonderful girl.
All right. Here it is. Take a look. How is directing films different from directing opera?
Well,
you don't have music as the primary thing.
The same difference that there is between sculpting a statue or painting a fresco. I mean, in the end, you want to express the same need that we all have to tell something, to expand our creativity.
That's what the similarity is, isn't it? The need to express the...
Yes, it's to perpetuate the dreams of our childhood, of our youth.
How does what you do relate to your childhood and youth?
How do I do?
Yeah, how does what you do, your work, your expression, relate to your own childhood?
Well, it depends on the pieces I'm putting on stage, but in general, it's dreaming with open eyes. You make dreams happen again, come to life. That is something that I wouldn't be able to live without that outlet. that every now and then I can make my dreams come back to life. Whether it's
whether they're sad
cinema or opera or plays or television, doesn't matter. Just you need, that's, I think it's one of the great need. You know, professionally you do the same.
Yes.
You make your imagination gallop, and
that's right.
You know,
yeah.
I think it's
course.
the greatest thing we have. But it doesn't need to make the final judgment of Michelangelo to be a creative person. You can be creative also in small things. The way you communicate with the other, the way you choose your tie. You put this one rather than the other, or the way you choose a holiday, the way you pick up a flower. You know, it's everything man does is the creative act.
Everything man does is a creative act, you know, an expression of choice.
Of choice, and selecting and making it happen.
An expression of choice and experience.
Yeah, and also making things happen. I think we have listened to your panel before about the resurrection of Christ.
Yeah, the resurrection.
Creation is the key to everything.
Creation.
Creation. We are born. The only similarity to God we have, the Genesis says, God created man to his own image. What is the image of God? The only definition of God is that he was the creator. So if we are similar to God, we are creator too, because he is a creator. That is our heritage. That's in our nature. No matter what we do, you have to create something, no matter what. A small or Verdi's Hotel or the Final Judgment or a small thing. How many creative acts we do during the day? Infinite. Infinite. He cooks one thing, puts kind of flavor than the other one. Yeah. Selects the kind of meat or the kind of vegetables. Everything you do, anything you do is an act of creation.
But for many people, there is an absence of that celebration of choice and creation and passion and curiosity for many. You know, I mean, it seems to me it's a gifted, I'm not sure whether it's few or many, but I do know that many don't share that sense of, isn't this wonderful, this,
you see,
this glass of water and...
Creativity comes from freedom. You must be free. You must be not caged in, no prisoner of some intellectual or choices that make everything become already something decided before you can operate. You have to be free to open up your windows, whether the wind or the rain or the sun comes in, I'm prepared. It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid. I want to express myself, but I must be free. In fact, the great creations always come in moments of great freedom. Freedom of the person. Politically, it might be moments of dictatorship, but the person is free in his mind. He can tell and see things with a free mind, with a free heart.
Who's had the most influence on you?
We are a combination of so many influences. I owe so much to so many people. And throughout my life, I can start when I was 5 years old. I began to have first indications. People can tell you something, can teach you something without you being aware. And later you remember, that person told me that, and I've been absorbing it and expressing what I did not think was so important, but became very important for me. And then I have, of course, those who really gave me tremendous input, tremendous education, advices, examples to follow. That is another. We all owe something to somebody in many different ways.
And should not forget them.
And should not. That's why I go back to the classics, because we are beyond time. We have the past, the present, and the future.
When you look at this life that you have lived, expressing itself in so many different ways, any regrets about the choices you have made?
Not really. Actually, I've been very lucky because I've always done what I wanted to do.
What would you have done differently?
What I would have done different?
Yes.
Nothing. I just done what in that moment of my life I thought was right to do. I made some mistakes, naturally, mistakes of choice, because I did not perhaps question my heart fully and loyally. I thought that was the right choice, and it wasn't. But in general, I've never been subject to this terrible thing. You say, I had to do this for money or for something. I'm not able. If I don't feel like... But because doing something, a film or directing an opera, it's a big chunk of what you are. You have to expose yourself. You have to bring out what you are, and you don't do it just by pushing a button or for a check.
I'm curious about this. But is there any difference in working with musicians and opera stars than it is working with movie stars?
A lot of difference.
What is it?
Well, it's a different medium.
Okay, but I mean, it's all the obvious stuff.
Yes,
but to understand an artist is to understand an artist, whether it's a movie star or an opera star. It's not different. Those in music don't have certain common characteristics that those in acting
Well, it's the language and the technique.
Yeah.
But if I close my eyes and think of what I've done and people I've known, I don't see the difference between singers and actors and movie people I've worked with. I see certain things happening with these wonderful people I've been associated with. It's the way, the technique, the medium is irrelevant. Really.
Anything you desperately and passionately wanted to do that you haven't done?
Yeah, several things.
What?
Well, for instance, Wagner, but I've always been afraid of Wagner because I don't understand German. And I don't think a director can direct an opera without knowing the language. It's not just music. It's drama in music. So I've always been a bit uptight about Wagner, but now in my advanced age, I'm going to break that shrine. That for music. Otherwise, I've done everything in music. I've done 5 productions, Don Giovanni, Trio, Traviata, everything. Movies, yes, movies. There are several movies I'd like to do.
Like?
I want to do a great story of the Florentine Renaissance. I like very much.
But do you need a character to do that? Well, you need
a leading character.
Yeah, you need a leading character. You need somebody's life, some character that...
Around whom...
Yeah, exactly. You can weave the story.
In fact, that's the approach. Very, very, very apropos about to say that. Because the reason why I haven't done it yet is because I haven't found the way... Dumas, for instance, Alexandre Dumas, telling those contes historiques, the histories, but he created plausible characters that allowed him to tell the historical canvas. But there was always some people that he invented. Les Miserables, it was all invented. Those wonderful characters, but he told us a great moment, a great fresco of that moment in France, political. Yeah. So I must find the same solution to this problem, because the material is fantastic, but how to tell it? It's serious. And the more important is the picture, the more convincing must be the character you invent to bring to life the old fresco. So I hope I'll meet a writer who will help me in that.
Thank you. Franco Zeffirelli, we thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you next time. See you then.